You're listening to Mark of the Maker. Hey everybody, I'm Mark Steiner and you're listening to Mark the Maker. This is episode 129 of the show, and now we're going to get into a little wrap up from the New Orleans Custom Knife Invitational show. But we have a slightly smaller crew today. We have Mr. Sean Kendrick.
Hey.
And we have Mr. Michael Birch.
I'm here.
All right. So let's get some business out of the way first. First, we want to say thank you. Huge thank you to our friends on Patreon. If you go to patreon.com, patreon.com, you can find us there. And that's a way to pledge some money every month to support the show. I always feel like we're doing a public television pledge drive when I do this. But you can go to Patreon and send us a couple bucks every month if you like. It's a nice way to support the show. It's actually our primary source of funding to keep microphones moving and buy new gear. In fact, we bought a new microphone for this show. So there's your support is greatly appreciated. It helps keep everything moving for us. And honestly, couldn't do it without you. So thanks very much to our Patreon supporters. And if you're interested, go to patreon.com and just search up Mark of the Maker and you can find us.
Yeah. And speaking of Patreon, Giant Mouse likes to give away some knives for us every once in a while on Patreon. It's pretty cool. They've been supporting us for a bit now. We've talked about it over and over, but I want to talk about the Giant Mouse GM13. Real funky hawkbill looking piece, kind of pretty wild looking. It's got a cross lock. I don't know. It's really nice looking new piece from them. And I don't even see a price on this yet.
Yeah, they actually just did the drop. They might be sold out of them.
Well, never mind. You may not be able to get one then. But you missed out.
Definitely go check. Where would they go, Michael, to find them?
Nice. Giantmouse.com.
Yeah.
A lot of products, though.
That Hawksbill's pretty sweet.
Yeah, it's pretty wicked looking.
Sean, you got something?
Yeah, I'm going to shout out our good buddies over at Paladin 33. Josh and the gang are kicking out some of the best fucking nylon that money can buy. I highly recommend you check out all their offerings. And right now, I want to shout out that new stuff that they're doing. And their Infinity Collector pouch is just a fantastic accessory for the serious collector. It holds 6 knives and 2 pins and a couple of small notepads and just top-notch gear. Really well thought out, really well made. Everything made in the USA and I believe from US-made materials. They take that very seriously. And to be honest with you, that's so new, I don't think it's on the site yet. But go ahead, head over to their site and check out everything else they offer, man. From range bags to fanny packs and everything in between, they've got you covered, and they do it in style. And their site is paladin33.com. That is PALADIN 33.com. And man, give their Instagram a follow. They're always into some cool shit. They put up some cool vids here and there, and their gear is always great to gander at there. And that's Paladin_33. Hit them up and let them know Sean sent you.
Yeah, great gear, made in the U.S. with U.S. materials, which is awesome. All right, and then we also want to say thank you to our friends at Arizona Custom Knives. They've been sponsoring the show for a while. They just very recently, it's actually today, put up one of Michael Birch's favorites, a Chris Reeve one-piece Kathathu knife, 5.5 inches long, really killer little dagger. I can see why Michael wishes this one had not gotten away.
No.
So if you like that kind of stuff, go check them out, ArizonaCustomKnives.com. They always have Sabral Brothers knives up there. They just got one that posted today. Beautiful Bowie, big monster one. I love that. Big old John Young stag fighter. Actually at a decent price. So yeah, go check that out. ArizonaCustomKnives.com. And if you go there, You can get free shipping using the code Mark of the Maker ! All as one word.
You just went shopping there for a second.
I did. I was scrolling down the page. I'm like, man, I'm going to start clicking. I'm start spending some money while we're on the show. It wouldn't be the first time that happened, but.
Mm-hmm. And we got a newish or a recurring sponsor. The Pacific Northwest Custom Knife Show is coming back around the corner. Our friends Nick and Billy put on a great show at Seaside. This year it's going to be August 2nd. They got a monster list of makers, and it's like everything. You've got gun stuff, you got Silencer stuff, you got tons of knife stuff, EDC gear. It's going to be pretty cool. Always a fun show. You can go to pnwci.bigcartel.com to find out more information. They also have a Facebook group. Check it out there.
Yeah,
cool
I think
stuff.
the Facebook group is the best place to stay current. It depends on when this episode releases. I'm not sure if they have, by the time this airs, I'm not sure if they'll have tickets available or not, but you want to go to the website and check it out. And you said August 2, Michael?
August 2.
All right. There'll be a couple of us there. I'm going to be there. It sounds like Sean's not calling this year, but Mr. Tom Crine is officially listed on the website as having a presence. A presence. So we'll see what Tom decides to do. He says he's coming to hang out. That'll be a good time.
I got to see what my family wants to do, whether I'm going or not.
Right.
And what sports is going to happen at the same time.
Yes. Schedule juggling. That's what you'd have to do.
Mm-hmm.
Always. Yep. All right, Michael, why don't you introduce what we're going to talk about here today? And we have a special guest with us, too.
Yeah. Well, we're going to do an overview or a follow-up to a knife show. And we thought it'd be kind of nifty if we got the promoter to join us. We're going to talk about NOCKI, the New Orleans Custom Knife Invitational. We have Matthew Patton with us.
What's going on, everybody? How are y'all?
Yeah, welcome to the show, man.
All right. Now that's enough. Let's, you can leave now.
Thanks for joining us, Matt. Let's segue into...
It's been a pleasure.
So let's
I'm shopping. I'm looking at the Paladin 33 website right now.
Yeah, exactly. You should be, yeah.
So tell us a little bit about how this show came around and, a little bit about it.
Yeah, so I've been an avid knife collector for over a decade now and have probably been to somewhere in the neighborhood of 75 shows or more. Try to be pretty active and go to as many as possible. And since I have to go back and check the notes to be exact, but it's somewhere around 2017 was the notion of just wanting to host a show, and specifically in New Orleans. I always felt that New Orleans was one of those cities where you needed an excuse to go. Nobody's gonna schedule or book a vacation just to go to New Orleans on a whim. It's not on people's radars in that way. And so I thought the area would be a good draw to have one. And so I have notes going back to, like I said, 2017, and how I wanted to structure it and what I wanted it to look like and function and things like that. And we just never really had a clear vision of where it would take place. And I really feel like now, especially after having concluded the third year, that the venue has been the defining characteristic of the show. We hosted on a riverboat on the Mississippi River, and I was that idea I can't claim for my own as much as I would love for it to be. But I was on a phone call with, of all people, Mr. Todd Rexford, and we were talking about the show and just some random thought that he threw out there. And to quote him verbatim, he goes, "Matt, you should have it on a fucking Mississippi riverboat." End quote. And I said, "Todd, I don't know if that's a thing or not.
Right.
I don't know if we can have a show like that on a boat. But I'll make some calls and see what can happen." And so ultimately that is what ended up happening.
Awesome.
Yeah. And so it's been well received so far. And always one of the unique attributes about having it on the boat, and specifically the one that we've done it on now for 3 years, the Creole Queen, is the the smaller size of the venue is what dictates how many makers I can invite to participate in the show. And so we can only fit in the current configuration for the show floor, which there's 3 levels to the boat, or 3 decks, and the show takes place on the bottom deck. You can only fit 21 makers in the current configuration that we have there. And so I kind of come to appreciate the fact that we are, in a sense, limited or constrained by that. So it's worked really well to that benefit. And then we gauge for the attendees, we gauge how many passes we sell based on the number of actual collectors that would be on the show floor kind of at the peak time, which is typically when the first place lottery winners are announced.
So it's by definition a small show, just even constrained by the venue.
That's correct. And I like it that way. We've had some vendors approach us that would like to participate that are not knife makers. They're material suppliers, or not even necessarily tactical folding makers, and we just don't have the space for them. And so I think just by design it has worked that way, and so it's made us keep it how it is now. And I've come to really like and appreciate the way that it is.
Right. So the invitational thing kind of has to happen that way, right? Because you're tight on space, so
right.
you got to pick who shows up. Go ahead, Michael.
No, I was going to say you can't, that would make life a lot easier to be like, well, I really want to go. Like, well, I just don't have the room.
Exactly.
That'd be kind of nice.
It's a wonderful excuse, so to speak.
Mm-hmm. So I think it's a good size as far as like on the boat. It doesn't seem too crowded, but there's enough excitement, enough, I don't know, it's not so spread out that you're kind of like staring across a big room. And did you guys add the lighting to it for the show?
We did. The very first meeting or consult we had when we walked through the boat that first year, we talked about the lighting in general is not equipped for essentially a trade show. And so they had to do some head scratching and figure out the best way to display this, because that was another thing that I feel is a problem at any knife show you go to. And, you're in these very large ballrooms, and you've got 100 vendors, and the lighting is 30 or 40 feet up in the air. And so the lighting's already poor. And so to bring in this additional lighting that is situated above the tables directly, it really does show the product a lot better.
Yeah. Yeah, I just noticed that this year, and I remember like one of the shows above the Palms or whatever, one of the old TKI shows, somebody was in like the complete dark. It was kind of funny, but not.
Oh, really?
Right, they're off in a corner of the room kind of thing.
Yeah, it's just like where there just happened to not be light.
Yeah, that would be a tough gig to be in a spot like that. We shape it in a horseshoe or a U, and so that way it can follow the flow of the room. It puts all the makers just on the outer perimeter. We put some high top tables running down the middle, and so that way guys can hang out and have a drink. They can make the rounds, and they can kind of move a little bit more freely, even during the peak time. When the lottery winners are announced and everybody's crowding around the tables and stuff, it still flows well. And if you want to get a break, you can go up to the middle deck where there's more bars and there's more food. You can go up to the top deck, which is fully open. You can get a view of the city, especially on the cruise portion of the show is really cool as well.
I've never been up there.
So after the first year I did hire a professional photographer to come out and just get some nice shots that we could use for advertising and promotional purposes later on. But I'd be willing to bet 20% or more of makers and collectors didn't even realize that we left the dock, much less there was a third deck they could have gone out on and seen the view.
Yeah.
That's funny.
Yeah, it was pretty comical. We left the dock. I mean, it was good.
Yeah, I don't think I knew that first year either. We have a similar type of boat thing here where they do like, a Christmas thing with the kids, and you barely can tell when they leave, and you're like, oh, okay.
Mm-hmm. Last year, you knew when we left that we had some bad weather before we got rolling, and it it was definitely a little choppy for the first maybe 10, 15 minutes of the cruise. And then this year, we have not had good weather luck all 3 years in terms of leading up to the show. And this year was no different. They had all kinds of weather forecasts predicting massive tornadoes and hail and 20, 30, 40 mile an hour wind gusts. And all 3 years it has worked out. We actually had at one point decided to cancel the cruise portion, the river cruise. And about 10 minutes after I had told the captain we weren't going to do that, the winds just disappeared. The American flag that was blowing on the pole across the river that we were just using as the gauge it was completely vertical on the pole. And then it completely laid down flat about 10 minutes after. And so I went and asked the captain, I was like, do you think we could still do it? And he's like, we'll make it happen, man. So we didn't go for a long cruise because the river was still pretty choppy, but it did work out. It was still nice.
Well, you want to explain the format of the show, Matthew, like how this particular show works?
Yeah, for sure. So just at the kind of the very beginning of it, the number of passes we sell are limited. And so all 3 years we have been fortunate to sell out all the passes that we offer. And we've invited 21 makers all 3 years. And then the way that we structure it is we're going to have both lottery and auction knives. And the goal was to make a show that was not fast paced. I wanted something where people could show up and it's more just hanging out. You get to chat with your buddies, you get to chat with the makers. There's no need to feel rushed because there is, even though the show is only show floor open, you can get on the boat at 5:15. We start kicking people off the boat at 10:30. So you're a 5 to 5.5 hour show. And that is more than enough time to accomplish every single thing you want to do. And so you can board the boat at roughly about 5:15, 5:30. The food is out. So with your pass, you get a full meal. It's a buffet style and it's all the Louisiana favorites: gumbo, Cajun shrimp pasta. The bread pudding is always the popular one. That's actually a question I get a lot, is if we're going to have the same food and if the bread pudding is going to be there. So apparently there will be riots in the streets if we don't continue to serve the bread pudding. But so after you've had time we do an open bar as well for the duration. So your pass covers open bar, eat and drink as much as you would like. And so the show floor itself would open at 6, and we don't announce the first lottery winner. So we do a random number generator that draws first through 5th place winners. And at 7:30, we will have a sealed envelope prepared for every lottery knife that is available on the show floor. And so we'll walk around. The maker will get to randomly select the envelopes for their knives. So if they have 6 knives, they grab 6 envelopes. They can grab 6 in a row. They can grab 6 spaced out, however they want to grab them. And then they'll open the envelope and they'll set it in front of each individual knife. And then, so you'll have the first place winner gets about 30 minutes. I think it is 30 minutes. It might be 20. I'm blanking a little bit now. I think it's 30. You get 30 minutes to make your selections and decide if you want to purchase any of the lottery wins that you've been selected for. And then we go down to 10 minutes for second place. And then it's 5 minutes for third, fourth, and fifth. And everybody in that first 30 minutes is definitely figuring out where their numbers are, what knives they are first, second, third, fourth, or fifth on, and they're going to keep an eye on those. So you definitely have time to do it. And then after all the lottery winners are done and all that business is over, then we move on to the auctions. And with the auctions, we designate the end times for each maker's auctions. And so that way we can just have an idea of being able to announce, hey guys, Michael Birch's auction is ending at so-and-so time. You have 5 minutes remaining. And that way we just can keep everybody at top of mind so they can say, oh yeah, I wanted to go bid on that auction. And so we run those all the way until I think right at 10 o'clock or 10:05. And then from 10:05 to with the company that owns the boat, they ask that we are completely off the boat by, they try to get us out of there by 10:30. I'm usually chasing people out at 10:40, 10:45. And so, which is a good thing. I want people to hang around. I want them to enjoy hanging around. But, yeah, so like I said, it's just that chill and relaxed atmosphere of not being able to have to rush around for first come, first serves, or making sure you signed up for every lottery that you wanted to participate in. You're automatically entered into every lottery that goes down on the show.
So what's the feedback been about that? People like that format just because it makes it easy, or, it's one of the things that sometimes has happened, I think, in shows that have a structured lottery is, people end up feeling bad or whatever, that they don't take a particular knife or whatever. So what's been the feedback on it so far?
Yeah, great question. So just to kind of address one of the potential concerns you mentioned just now, which was passing on a lottery. It is, in a sense, kept anonymous. We when you arrive at the show and you go to registration, you'll pick up your pass, and on your pass, it's got your name on one side. If you bought it prior to us ordering the passes, it'll have your name on it, and on the other side, it's got a random number. And so the only thing that we put on the lottery winner sheets are the numbers. And so if nobody knows your number, nobody knows you want it. And so if you really don't want to purchase the knife that you were chosen for, it's no big deal. Nobody knows it unless you tell somebody. But yeah, so that's kind of one of those things. I do get that question actually, but the feedback on the lottery system that we implement during the show is definitely a mixed bag, and I understand that you're not going to make everybody happy.
Right.
I get that. I understand it. The thing that I have to look at from the promoter standpoint is, how can I run the show in an efficient way that gives everybody a fair shake and doesn't make things messy? And I have racked my brain on it. I have considered other ways. I have thought about other ways. I've discussed other ways with people, and I've even kind of just put it out there. We have a Facebook group for the show, and leading up to it, it does begin to get pretty active. It'll go quiet from now until probably, I don't know, September or October, when we start announcing next year's makers that'll be exhibiting. But we always, this part of the conversation always does tend to come up in some capacity or another. And so I usually will serve it up and say, hey guys, I'm open to ideas. And I always leave it open-ended in the sense that if you can bring me a way to run it that keeps it going efficient and doesn't have any hangups or snags or potential problems, I'm all ears. I will gladly experiment and try other things. One of the things that we also get a lot of feedback on is the people that will win multiple lotteries.
Yeah.
And that can happen one of two ways. Either A, they bought a single pass and their number just came up multiple times, or we have for the first, I think it's like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, it might be a month even, but for a limited amount of time when the passes go on sale, we only allow attendees to buy 2 passes, and they can buy those 2 passes for themselves. So for every pass they get, that's another number they have in the lottery system. So they can buy a maximum, once that time frame is ended. Like I said, I can't remember if I designated as 2 weeks or a month, but whatever that time frame is, once that's ended, the attendees have the option to buy an additional 3 passes. So every collector in the room, if they wanted to spend the money, could have 5 passes or 5 lottery numbers in the system. My experience, based on just watching how all of this shakes out, is the guys that buy multiple passes win multiple knives every year.
Yeah.
And so some guys will, they'll complain, or they'll give me some feedback, and they'll say something to the effect of, oh, well, I saw number 17 on 6 pages as the number 1 winner, and my number wasn't on a single page on any slot. Well, talk to random.org about that, man, because I can't do anything about that. But one of the things that does continue to come up in conversation, and I don't agree with it, which is why I've never wanted to try it. I've floated it out there, and it wasn't received well, was the notion of, once your number has won a first place lottery slot, you won't win another first place. You could win a second, third, fourth, or fifth, but you can't win another first.
I don't know about that.
And that's my thought process, is that if you do that, then you are, in theory, not actually entered into every lottery then, are you?
Yeah.
I worked out the logistics of it. Like, I can make it do that. We can definitely allow it to where once your number's pulled, it won't show back up on first place. It's an easy thing to do. but I don't agree with it, so I don't want to do it.
Yeah.
But for anybody that does listen to this, I'm happy to entertain other suggestions or other methods by which you can be entered. Some people just want to enter the lotteries that they want to enter, and that's fine, but it clutters up the whole show. It makes it more laborious to have to go through and write your name on a piece of paper. And then the makers have to pull them and stuff like that.
Yeah. Yeah, like you said, you can't make everybody happy. And anytime there's a lottery, somebody has a hot year, right? I mean,
always one guy or gal.
That happens at Blade Show. It happens at TKI. I mean, every place, right, where there's a lottery thing going on, people will have a hot year, right? My son and I went, the first year we went to Blade Show, we brought home like 9 or 11 knives. It was crazy, right?
Holy crap.
But it was just like, I mean, they weren't all lottery, but most of them were. And it was, it was just a crazy lucky year. So, I mean, I don't know. Maybe there's a little sour grapes in there, but that happens with
in
lotteries.
All my years of attending shows like that. I mean, I'm an avid collector. I definitely want to win some of these lottery knives, and so I'm hoping to do so. And I've come home empty-handed far more than I've come back with anything at all.
Oh yeah.
And but there are those people. I mean, some of these guys have that lottery luck, you call it.
Yep.
And I feel like I see at not every show, but definitely the majority of the shows they attend, they're coming home with something.
Right.
Yeah. Some of those guys, they just make their own luck. I mean, they end up, paying for it afterwards.
Mm-hmm.
But the one that I always enjoyed, which I don't think would be much fun to do as a promoter, was, I think Brady did this one time, where you had a certain amount of chips and you basically spread them out how you liked.
Yep.
And if there was a certain knife you really liked, load it up on that one.
Yep, exactly right. Richard Rogers does that format at the bulk of the shows that he exhibits at.
Oh, really? I didn't know that.
Mm-hmm. Jonas Iglesias used to do it. He doesn't do it anymore, but I remember even maybe as recent as 2021, I think, maybe 2022, he was doing it where you had the tickets and, if you brought 5 lottery knives, you had 5 tickets, but if you wanted to put them all in on one, you certainly could.
Yeah. Well,
you could always tell which knife it was that everybody wanted at the table because that bag would be overflowing.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's the interesting part of it. And that's kind of what I like about some of the regular lottery is I like knowing what people like, what they're after, what research. Yeah. But, yeah. So I guess as a collector, what's it like for you to sit and watch these knives go away?
I have to say that it has been far more gratifying than I ever thought it would be. I put the show together from the mindset of a collector. It was that thing where it's like, man, if I could go to a knife show and I could have every maker that I wanted to exhibiting at that show, and they just brought the coolest, baddest shit they're going to make all year to one show. Like that's what I want. And I know at least I feel this way. I mean, I like the as a collector, I like the fancy stuff. I want mother of pearl, and I want meteorite, and I want zircotai, and I want mokutai, I want all the Damascus, like all the fancy shit. Put it on there for me. And so I don't know if that is something that the makers that exhibit know about me, or if they just happen to coincidentally step up, so to speak. But I feel like all 3 years the makers have just brought superior knives to that show than they have to other shows in within the same year or previous years. So from the standpoint of a collector, it's jealousy on every corner. You're just like, man, I'd love the opportunity to get that. But one of the things that we're very vocal about, and it's important not only to me, but just from what you see going on, the stuff you hear, whatever you want to call it. As the promoter, we do not participate in the lotteries or the auctions for the show. We don't proxy bid for anybody. None of that. So we are completely hands off to the way that the show itself functions for the collectors. And I think that's a really important component to the show.
What about like Matthew Matten?
He has not attended the show. I can check to see if he's bought any passes, but I don't think that name sounds familiar.
Just double checking here.
I'll double check it to be sure, but I mean, I personally get all the badges made, so I just don't remember that name in there.
I think as a maker, anytime that the word invitational is in the name, I feel like you have to step it up. I don't know. I don't think it's like, personally like, more stuff for what you like. I think it's just like what you want to do. You want to bring your best shit when you're invited to something. I don't know.
No, I can definitely agree with that thought process. I had never thought about it from that standpoint, actually.
Yeah.
Michael, from the maker side of the table, what's your, how do you like how that works, and what's your 2 cents on it?
On which part? The lottery part?
Just the whole structure of the show.
The show itself is great. I'm not as huge a fan of the everyone's in for everything. I think also it's like this year, I think people legit ran out of money, which was kind of a strange one. There were so many knives at this show. Like there was no, 3 knives or whatever. Everyone brought a full spread, which I don't know if all the collectors were ready for.
Can I jump in there for a second, Michael?
Yeah.
So it's interesting. I just don't want to forget my thought on this. So please hold what you got. But one of the things that I'm most sensitive to from the makers is the number of knives that they bring to the show. My goal is to have as many knives offered for sale, both lottery and auction, as we can. And so I've been striving to hit 100. I want 100 lottery knives at this, or 100 lottery pieces at this show so bad. And we got 91 this year. Last year it was 86, and the year before that I believe it was 81 or 82. So that's a big jump, especially from year 1 to year 3. And then I pulled up the notes. Let me check the auctions real quick. And there were 46 auction pieces.
Damn.
Yeah, it's a lot. Just like you said, and people legitimately told me, they said, "Man, you really need an ATM on this boat."
Yeah.
So sorry to cut you off, man, but go ahead.
No, I mean, I legit had it. One guy's like, well, I just bought 2 of these. I could see his head going, can I buy this? Can I do that? He was trying to think of if he can afford this knife. It was kind of wild.
Yeah.
But it's easy. I think it's easy for the collectors and stuff. And yeah, there's always going to be sour grapes, no matter what happens, whatever system you use. There's always going to be someone that's like, well, somebody won a bunch. I wonder why. Like, because they fucking just did. I mean, that's all there is to it. And one year it might be yours or not. Shit. That's just how it works.
I keep waiting for that day.
Yeah.
Sean and I on the side are over here setting up. We've already started plans to set up our money changing operation on the shore next to the boat for next year.
Oh, yeah.
We got an easy up, some music, credit
like
card
those
machine.
guys that cruise next to the cruise ships and sell souvenirs. You just have a little boat next to it. And you're like, I got some money.
That's what I'm talking about.
Right. Yep. You need $5,000? No problem. We're just going to hit you with a $5,500 charge on your card. Ooh, Visa or Amex?
You are way kinder in this situation than I intend on being. You learned your Shylock game in a different school than I went to.
No, for me this year was, I put a lot of time into it, but I did that I felt like there was more pressure this year because I had to miss last year. And I don't know what the fuck happened last year, but I missed 2 shows and I hadn't ever done that, in my career. And so I was like, there's no way. So I started working a long time ahead, especially on one piece that's been rattling around for a couple of years.
That piece was awesome.
Thanks, man.
It was. That was a beautiful knife.
Well, then you and I had talked like, well, you can, you said you can take it easy and bring some, easier knives. I was like, yeah, I'll do that. And then I didn't do that.
Yeah, you were texting me 2 or 3 days before the show saying, yeah, bring more simple knives. It worked out really well.
Yeah, no shit. I can't. I was going to. I just didn't.
I know you are.
Can't happen. you want to show what you can do at shows like that. You know, it's just, I think it's ingrained in us. But
Get that?
Yeah. So it ended up being like a lot of work, but it was worth it. It was a fun trip for me. Took the family, it was during our spring break. So we drove, we had these horrible storms and just kind of rented a minivan because it was comfortable and didn't want to put miles on our vehicles. And, it was just blowing us all over the place. And we just drove in and went to the show and hung out for a few days in New Orleans. Saw some cool music, bought some artwork. I don't know. We dig just walking around, enjoying places. Ate a ton of food. God.
New Orleans is a great place just to walk around. My wife and I will go down there just for a day trip. We're going next week. I think we're going Wednesday or Thursday. And it's just such a great city just to walk around.
Well, I was just talking to Mark about like how we tend to walk around and just you find a place and walk in. And we do that there. We don't really look at reviews. We just walk in if it looks like a place to eat and try it out. And so far have not struck out.
You got to work to have a bad meal down there, man. You really do.
Yeah, we don't stay out, on Bourbon Street at night. And of course it was, your St. Patty's Day.
Yeah, St. Patty's Day.
That wasn't, wild like we thought. We stayed around the square there and had some fantastic live music and stuff. But it was, fun for the family and fun for us. And I don't know.
Did figure out why the hotel rooms were so dang expensive, though. There was a regional or national volleyball tournament of some sort going on in the convention center. And there are event calendars for the city of New Orleans. You can just Google search and check, and none of those came up. None of that tournament of any sort wasn't mentioned on any of the calendars that I looked at when I was trying to figure out what weekend to do it. And when I went to book hotel rooms, I like to stay at the Hilton Riverside because the boat is right next door to it, and it's just convenient. And the last couple of years, we've done the show during Jazz Fest weekend, and the rooms they're more expensive than I would like them to be, but they're not anything crazy. They've been $250 to I think $350 a night is about what they average for the last 2 years, and this year they were $475 and $500 a night. And I just, I know. And I just couldn't figure out why. And so, what was that?
We saw that when we pulled in. Because we had to turn there at the convention center. And it was just like, it took us 40 minutes to get past the convention center. And we're like, that's why that first night was so expensive. But I'm like you.
Exactly what it was.
I want to be as close as possible for just the pure reason of, one, that's where people usually want to hang out, but also when you leave a show, you've got money. And I'd like to have a very short trip back to my room.
Amen.
So, Michael, you brought 6 knives, is that right?
Was it that many?
So 6 or 7. I think so, yeah.
I think the group picture that you posted in your Facebook group shows 6.
Yeah.
Slip joint, 2 pearl knives, and then 3 more.
Yeah, that was, and I was like, hell yeah, I was going to bring like, I think 8, but then I did, you start doing triage.
Right.
You're like, nope, you're not going to make it. I'll come back to you later. I'm usually really late on my triage though, because I'm like, I can do this. I'm like, nope, that's not going to happen.
Yeah.
You start counting up the little processes, and that's where, you're like, oh, I still have to make screws or something stupid. You're like, that's time. That's a lot of time there. Don't forget it.
Yep.
So it adds up fast.
And the pearl pieces, you had both of those as bid knives? Is that how you?
I just had the one bid.
Just the one?
And I was going to do, I had one that it was a bosun, but it was homemade stainless steel Damascus and titanium Damascus, whatever you want to call it. I should call that like Mitanium, like MI.
Right.
Yeah, don't do that. But
that's the one with the carved handles with the little wavy pattern in the handle. Yeah.
Yeah, I did that one. Just waves, just for the little boat show. And
also filed copyright on Mitanium.
Shit.
Ding.
I'll have my people talk to yours.
There you go.
Have to go with the lesser clever Michaeltanium. Shit.
Make sure you get the
And
URLs on those too,
filed.
Sean.
Like I'm some Tweaky the Kid who doesn't already have the URLs on those.
Between the
But,
money changing and the trademarks, Sean and I are going to be rich after this show. It's gonna be
shit.
great.
They are. Damn.
So then I slapped a high price on that one instead. So, well, for me.
Right. Low price
But then
for
I-
everybody else.
Then I feel guilty. I'm like, oh shit, that was a lot of money.
A price Abby would not approve of.
Yeah, what I was like, this is super high, and she'd be like, I don't think that's high enough. I'm like,
The bid piece, so that's the one. It has, I think folks will have seen pictures of it. And I think we actually talked about this before. Had kind of a triangle Zerk inlay at the pivot and then sort of that stitch sort of look
Yeah.
to the handle.
yeah, it all came from, and originally the first iteration that you would have been proud was kind of bow ties.
Yeah.
I couldn't get the number of them and how they would fit to work
Yeah.
because I really wanted to look like it was stitching like a ravine together.
Yeah.
But I fucked around with that for a long time.
Whose Damascus is that? It's a funky
That-
pattern.
That one was,
That's Norris.
yeah, Norris.
Yeah. It's cool with the real fine pattern waved in with the more of like a coarse pattern. It's nice. I like it.
That's
Problem with-
sexy.
Thanks, man. Those weird inner frame funky pieces like that are just a kind of pain in the ass when it comes to when you get ready to torch them.
Yeah.
That shit does not like when you've got thin and thick and
right.
all that mixed together. It either wants to warp or it'll burn so fast. So it's like you're just going real. So I think I talked to you one day, Matthew, when I was like torching it, and you were like, "What does that sound like?" Because it's like this.
Yeah, yeah.
Barely holding the trigger, like you're just going around nice and slow. But I still had to redo that one 2 or 3 times. If you don't have to redo your, Damascus or Dark Tire or whatever, then shit, what are you even doing?
Let's say, are you even a knife maker?
Yeah.
What
I
is
think
that? I'm looking at that knife right now. I think that's hybrid pattern Norris.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah,
that's
it
what
was.
that one is. That's probably one of my favorite patterns from him. That and Fire Clone too.
Yeah, he does some cool stuff.
But no, that piece was superb. And then that other bosun you did with the pearl and the carbon fiber together, well, that was a really nice combo.
Thanks, man. Another pain in the dick hole. But hey, it worked out at the end.
Yeah, that one's
It
cool.
did.
It's like almost like a fishbone kind of look. I like that.
I'm working on another version now because I like to make 2 of everything just in case.
Right.
And I actually made probably 4 different versions of that fishbone
Yeah.
variations because I broke 2 sets. And it
Squeeze
wasn't,
them together.
no, it wasn't that. It was the actual, I like to cut out my inlays and then I'll like into the depth of the material.
Yeah.
And then I'll flip it over and surface grind the backside off. So I'll stick it down to, it was getting it off the tape. Even with I would wet it with Windex to like try to loosen it up. And even that wasn't enough to not snap that little tiny piece.
Yeah.
Like, you
This is the same guy that was posting videos of those pearl inlays and showing how flexible they were.
Right.
it wasn't the mother of pearl that I broke. It was the.
Oh, it wasn't?
Yeah, because that's all one piece of carbon, right? With the little teeny connectors.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it was the little carbon pieces I broke.
Ah,
Son of a bitch.
Yeah.
I was probably being more gentle with the mother of pearl too, though. So let's be.
that's probably true. I thought I had you there. Damn it.
No, I'll jack some mother of pearl up too, but it is not as bad as people claim.
Yeah.
You just can't bandsaw it or do stupid shit with it.
And then you incorporated your Tiffany. When was the last time you went to a show and didn't bring something with some Tiffany on it?
I don't know. I like me some Tiffy. I waited
you do.
I found out about that. What was it? Carbo. What is it called? Camo Carbo? Something?
Camo color.
You're trying to combine 2 of them together. You got Carbo Tie and Camo Carbon.
It's Camo Carbon, but I think they call their Carbo Camo. I don't know.
They have
But they did
Camo
a drop.
Quartz.
Camo Quartz. That's what it is. That's what I bought. So I had to wait. I saw it and I was like, what is this? Like, well, we do a drop. And I was like, shit, I've never done like a drop or like where I got to set a time and do that. And I felt like a collector there for a second. I was like, oh shit, I hope I get this shit because I want it for the show.
Was it just a rush?
No, like the next day there was Diltham there, and I was like, damn it. But I felt cool. When the time
snookered.
dropped.
You got snookered. That's what happened.
Yep.
Yeah.
False scarcity. Manufactured
It's cool.
scarcity.
Cool stuff, though.
Yeah.
I dug it. It's pretty. So, yeah, it was a good show.
Nice.
I for me, one thing I found that about that show was there was excitement, and I haven't seen that in a while. I've seen it like at night at like Billy's show, like on the beach and stuff, which is such a kind of a funky, cool, everyone's just kind of excited. You get to have that kind of place to talk, but I haven't felt that excitement about a show in a while, and I don't know the why or what of it. Maybe because there hadn't been a fancy type of show in a bit. I don't know.
There hadn't been one since October and November. So that's a pretty good little lull there.
Well, I mean, money's been, a little worse than it has been recently. And I was kind of like, well, how are people going to react? But they were ready to spend, and they were.
Yes, they were.
Happy with the knives. They were excited. There was a chatter. It was cool. One of those where you leave and you're like, all right. I was going to be like, I don't do the art knife stuff because it's just not worth it. And I was like, I'm going to do some art knife stuff.
Yeah. Well, that's a solid compliment, right? Have the show having some energy, right? It's not always the case. So that's probably the best kind of feedback, I think.
No, it's fantastic.
We've been pretty fortunate. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, I was just going to say it's fantastic, except that, I was kind of resigned to be like, I need to have some lower priced, kind of do some more CNC, stuff. And I was like, no, fuck it. It's more art stuff. Do it. That's not the attitude
Dark Kermit.
I have. Yeah.
Yeah, and the collectors and the makers that do participate in this show, the compliments have always been nice. I have to say that most people are very gracious with telling us we did a good job and the crew does a good job and things like that. But for some reason this year, it felt like it was even turned up an additional notch beyond what it had been, and it was just very humbling to get to host something like this and get to put this on, and people love coming to it and they look forward to it and they have an expectation of what it's going to be. And there's a benchmark that you have to maintain because they know, I've had quite a few people have been there all 3 years now. And so you just always have to maintain that or try to keep things fresh. And, something that we put in this year, one of the things that I'm always looking at is value. And I know that the tickets to come to the show are expensive. They're, to my knowledge, they're the most expensive ones out there. But beyond the actual show itself, I do want to provide and convey value. And one of those things is very good food. Another thing is plenty of alcohol. And then the previous years we have done the boat. The company that owns the boat provides these various entertainment options. And so a couple of years we've had some very New Orleans-esque things like the caricature artist or a tarot card reader. The alligator, the live alligator is definitely the number one. Everybody asks about the alligator, so that's a staple. And then this year we took away some of the other entertainment choices. And so we kept the alligator. And then we actually brought in a New Orleans-based company that hand rolls cigars on the premises. And so they were actually rolling cigars for the attendees and makers that they could go up on the top deck and smoke, or they could bring them home with them. And so that was just one of those other value add components that I wanted to put out there for everybody.
That's fun.
The free alcohol doesn't hurt, that's for sure.
Right?
The wife enjoyed the hurricanes.
Mm-hmm.
So I enjoyed.
Got to take her over to Pat O'Brien's for a hurricane.
Oh, she's been there. That place is wild.
They're all wild.
Yeah, but we watched them. I think it was 2 years ago. It was during one of the Jazz Fest things. It rained or whatever, so there was a lot of people crowded in there. And this was when it was just Abby and I there. And he had a spout that was like just filling like 4 hurricanes at a time. And it was wild watching him it's like, good Lord. It was a shitload. And that was the first place I went to a piano bar back when I worked at Bass Pro Shops. We did a shot show there.
And that was the first place you went to was Pat O'Brien's?
That was my first place that I went to that had a piano bar thing. And I was like, holy shit, this is awesome.
Yes, indeed.
Mm-hmm.
Fun stuff. I think Delac did that one year at the Florida East Coast show, the Fort Lauderdale show that he did, that we went down for. He had a guy there rolling cigars. That was a pretty cool thing. Yeah, that was pretty neat.
Nice.
Yeah, fun stuff.
All right. Copycat right there.
No, it reminded me of it. I'm like, oh, that's right. Delac did that at one of the shows.
You caught me.
What, you guys got anything else you want to talk about with respect to the NOCKI 2025 wrap?
No, I think it was a good show, and I think this is definitely something we should consider when we do these wrap ups if we have the possibility to do it. I think having a little more insight would be nice.
Yeah, we do it with the Portland show last year, right?
Oh, yeah.
So it's a good idea. Hey, Matthew, thanks for taking the time to chat with us, man.
Yeah, for sure, Mark. I do appreciate being included in it. Always wanted to be on the show.
There you go. Well, that's it. You did it. We also, when Matthew and I were doing setup with microphone and stuff, he mentioned by the time this thing comes out, it'll be his great grandmother. It'll be her 102nd birthday. So happy birthday, Miss Ruby.
I appreciate that. Thank you, Mark.
Yeah, happy birthday.
102. Man, that's awesome.
Yes, it is.
I'll be happy if I get to maybe 80.
88's my number.
88. Okay, that's fair.
I want to live to 88. I want a good 88, though.
Yeah.
Good luck with that.
Right. Sean, are you going to 102?
Yeah, hell yeah, dude. I'm going to like 145, 150, something like that.
Whatever it takes.
Dude, a man of my income level with the healthy lifestyle I've lived.
Exactly.
Sky's the limit, baby.
Easy peasy.
Y'all just remember that your future doctor's cheating on his med school right now with ChatGPT. So you better start taking care of yourselves, is all I'm saying.
Yeah.
Doctors, what the fuck are those?
Right. Yeah. All right. Well, thanks again to our friends on Patreon for your support, to our sponsors, Giant Mouse, Paladin 33, Arizona Custom Knives, and the Pacific Northwest Custom Invitational Show. We'll see some of you guys out there for that one. We appreciate all of your support and helping us keep this thing rolling. So thanks, everybody, for your help, and thanks, everybody, for listening. We'll catch you next time.
Thanks, guys.
Yeah, thanks all.
Thanks, folks. Appreciate y'all.
To learn more about our makers, you can find Tom Crine in his Facebook group Crine Knives or on Instagram @Crine Knives. For Michael Birch, check birchtreeblades.com, Facebook group Birch Tree Blade Works, or Michael's Instagram @BirchTreeBlades. For my own projects, I'm on the web at raygundivision.com or check my personal Instagram @msteiner. For those interested in photos, references from the show, or discussion about the show itself, you can always find us on the web at markofthemaker.com, in a Facebook group called Mark of the Maker, or on our Instagram @markofthemaker. Last but not least, credit for the ultra cool and haunting background music we use for the show. This is a piece called Noir Guitar by Stevie's Amp Shack, found at the Free Music Archive and licensed under Creative Commons CC BY 4.0. And as always, thanks for listening.